All right, welcome everyone to my webinar all about backlinks. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here we go, slideshow. All right, so we are here to learn about backlinks. I'm going to get right into it and tell you a little bit about who I am and why you should listen to me. I am a content marketer, SEO strategist, speaker, and author. I am a writer who was very surprised to find herself also working as an SEO strategist. I have never considered myself to be a numbers person or an analytical person. I always want to be more creative. And I was afraid when I started that SEO, first of all, it sounded very scary and very intimidating. So part of the reason I wrote my book, Content Marketing Made Easy, and the reason that I have events like this is because I found that it's really not that complicated. And I always want to make it accessible for people who might be thinking like I used to think, that SEO is big and scary and I can't even deal with it right now, right? It's not that hard. So that's basically what I'm here to tell you. So if at any point you feel overwhelmed or confused, please feel free to stop me, let me know. There is also a section for questions at the end. So if you want to hold your questions for the end, that's fine. But yeah, I also thought that, I didn't want to be told I've never wanted to be told what to write about. I want to write whatever I feel like writing about. Well, that's not a strategy. And actually, I found that SEO can be a great source of inspiration, especially for those clients I've been writing for years and years, and it feels like I've covered everything and I don't know what else to talk about. Doing the keyword research, using tools like Answer the Public is a great way to figure out what people are writing about, what people are asking about, what kind of information they want. So much to my surprise, here I am as an SEO strategist, in addition to being a writer and a speaker. And I actually find that it is one of the most fascinating parts of my job, learning what Google is doing, what Google is all about. A lot of people talk about Google like it's the enemy. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has its problems. But from an SEO perspective, I feel like their goal is just to get useful content in front of its users. Their customers are the people who are putting search terms into Google and trying to find stuff, right? So all of the changes that Google is making to its algorithm are not designed to drive us SEO strategists crazy. They are designed to get people in front of high quality content. And one of the ways that Google determines whether or not a piece of content is high quality is backlinks. So if you're not familiar with what backlinks are, essentially, it is just a link from one page to another page. So you've got your internal backlink, which is if you're on your website, you've got a link from a page on your website to another page on your website. So for example, if you're writing a blog post and you go, oh, I talked more in depth about this on another blog post over here, and you provide a link over there, that is an internal backlink. That is still valuable for SEO, but not as valuable as an external backlink. An external backlink is a link from a page on one website to a link on a page from another website. And the reason that backlinks are so important, why should you care, right? So a lot of people talk about a backlink as a vote because when a website is referring back, it's giving you a backlink, it's using you as a reference. It's saying this website has great content. You should look here for this information. It's a vote, but not all votes are created equal. So I think of it more as like, who are you hanging out with, like the cliques in high school? Are you hanging out with the popular kids? Because if you're just hanging out with the popular kids, just the fact that you're with them makes you a little more popular, or at least perceived to be more popular. If you're like me and you were hanging out with the band kids, or the sci-fi fantasy group, right? Maybe you were perceived as not being so popular because of high school cliques, right? So Google is kind of the same way. Google pays attention when other people are linking back to your site, but it cares who is linking back to your site. Is it a high quality site that is already ranking for relevant keywords, has great content on their site? Because if it is, that's going to boost your SEO. That's going to make you more popular. But if it's a low quality site that is using spammy SEO techniques, has poor quality content or not a whole lot of content at all, that can actually hurt your SEO. So real quick, I am going to say there is a way you can use tools There are a bunch of SEO tools out there. I know SEMrush is probably one of the most popular. They have a tool where you can disavow backlinks, where it goes, you can check for the backlinks to your site and tell Google, nope, don't want to be associated with this. That backlink will still work. You don't have the power to delete it. It's just not going to count towards your SEO. So first, let's talk about linkable assets. How can you get those juicy backlinks to your website? Well, first you have to create content that people want to link to, right? So first up, blog posts. I mean, obviously I love blog posts. They're easy to share. They're easy for me to write, at least. I know that's not the case for everyone, but it's a great way to get continuous content up on your website and to get all kinds of SEO juice, backlinks, content, keywords, all kinds of stuff. But there are also videos, podcasts, PDFs, webinars like this one, infographics. If you have any free tools or apps you're giving away, free products or services that you're giving away, that's an opportunity for a linkable asset, because you want to let other people know that you're giving this away for free. And they probably want to let their audience know if it's something that could be of value to their audience. So take advantage of that. Contests, reviews usually come with a link back to your website. So getting those is always great. And data and research, because if you have a comprehensive survey or study and you can tell everyone, hey, look, everyone in this industry or in this demographic cares about XYZ, or this is how they're behaving, that's valuable data and research that people can use. And so they're going to refer back to that and link back to your website. So those are all just some ideas of what a linkable asset is. That is something that will prompt someone to give a backlink to your website. So what do you do with your linkable asset? So you came out with this blog post or webinar or video, whatever it is. What do you do with it? Social media is always a big one. Put it out on social media. Tag people if you can, people that you know will be interested. You can tag influencers in your industry. That's always a good idea. So put it out on social media, but don't just post on social media and then not do anything with it. I know most of you, if not all of you on here, know Mary Wu. So if you're not familiar with her SEO or her social media strategy, you can talk to her a little bit more about how to really get the most out of your time on social media. Also, there's outreach. Just reach out to influencers in your industry and say, hey, I just created this great whatever it is, right? And say, would you like to link back to it? One of my favorite tools is Check My Links. It is a Chrome browser extension. So I believe you have to use Chrome. You can click on that when you're on a web page and it will scan that web page for broken links. So if you find a website that has broken links and there's a topic, a blog post or a web page or something that is similar to a topic you just happen to have covered over on your podcast, blog, whatever, you can say, hey, I happen to notice that you had this broken link. Maybe you want to replace it with a link to my website over here, right? Because that broken link is going to hurt their SEO. So you're alerting them to a problem and providing a solution. So it's a great way to get a backlink to your website. Opportunities for link building. If you have a job listing, there are all kinds of job listing sites you can use that will link back to your website. Events, if you have a coupon, online forums are great. Just be careful with online forums that you're not just getting, again, like social media. Don't just get in there, put a link to your website and then leave. You should actually engage on those online forums, provide valuable, thoughtful answers to the questions people are asking, and only provide a link back to your website if it makes sense. Same with those Q&A sites. Quora is a big one right now. Reddit is a big online forum site, right? So those are both opportunities to find people who are asking questions and discussing your industry. Get in there, get in front of those people, and provide a link to your website. It's also great to get in front of potential clients, right? You don't have to necessarily talk to people who are already doing what you do or are working in similar industries. You can find people who are asking questions about what you provide. Those are potential clients for you. Industry-specific social networking sites, guest posting, there's guest blog posting, and there's podcast guesting. So guest posting is still a great way to, usually you got your little bio up there, either at the top or the bottom, depending on how the website does it. And there's a link back to your website. So people did this a lot for a while to build backlinks. Well, Google, for some reason, decided that they did not like that as a link building strategy. I don't know why. Google does not always make sense. So now Google wants that no follow tag with each of those links. Again, the link still works. It just means it's not going to count towards your SEO. But it's still a great way to get in front of a whole new audience and organically drive traffic back to your website. So it's still a good way to get some visibility out there. It's just not as great of an SEO strategy. It's not going to hurt your SEO. It's just not the link building strategy that it used to be. But as far as I know, I might be wrong about this, but as far as I know, that does not hold true for podcast guesting. If you're a guest on someone's podcast, usually they're going to put a link to your website in their show notes on their website. People can click on that. That is a backlink. And as far as I know, Google has no problem with those links. So that is another opportunity to get those links. Sponsored links, same thing as guest posting. They don't really count towards your SEO. But again, it's a juicy way to get organic traffic. That link is still going to work. Whoever puts it up is probably going to put that little sponsored tag on the link to let Google know this is a sponsored link. Someone paid for it. That's fine. Again, the link will still work. It's still a great way to get organic traffic to your website as long as it makes sense. It's just not necessarily going to boost your SEO, but it won't hurt your SEO either. All right, how to find opportunities for backlinks. So you can find niche forums and social networks. You search, in brackets, I put market. So that's whatever your market is, whatever your target keyword is, and then the community. Some tips for searching is you can search kind of like, I'm sure most of you are familiar with putting quotes around a phrase that you use to make sure that I want this whole phrase in the content that I'm looking for. That's one way to kind of hack Google, right? Another way is to use in title. So if you're looking for something that you specifically want to be in the title, you can put in title : and then whatever it is you're looking for. So you can put in title : and then whatever your market is, your keyword, and then the forum. You can put it the other way around. You can put the market first in URL, which means that keyword is going to show up in the URL of whatever shows up on Google. And then blogs, you can look for, this industry plus answers, because people are always looking for answers for the questions that they have for any given industry. So that's another way to look for that. You can find professional associations. I know Stacy and I were just talking about trying to get speaking gigs, which is usually, by the way, another great way to get backlinks, because they're going, if you are speaking at an event, every time they promote that event, they're going to talk about who you are. They're going to provide a link to their your website from their website, from the event link. So that's another opportunity. And if you're looking for places to speak, you want to look for those associations. So whether you're looking for places to speak and or looking for backlinks, you can look for your market association. You can look for your market associated, because Google will sometimes give you answers for both when you look for association versus associated, but it helps to do separate searches, because sometimes you do get different results. Or you can search market and then in title : of America, or what, I know you guys are all in America, but if you're looking for whatever reason in another location, that's an opportunity as well. Or, of Illinois or of Wisconsin or whatever it happens to be. And then you can find resources in your industry. So you've got how to find, resource creators. You've got whatever your market is, and then roundup, or whatever your market is, and then resources list, or useful, content marketing for or SEO. Let's say you want useful SEO links library, although that would probably be huge. You might want to get the keyword down a little more detailed, so you're not flooded with content. Now you have to qualify backlink opportunities, because remember I said there are high quality backlinks and not so high quality backlinks. So first you want to do your research before you ask for a backlink, or before you allow a backlink to go through or disavow a backlink, right? So you want to make sure target keywords appear in the target URL. In the H1 tag, that means it appears in the headline. Make sure it appears in the body text. Make sure it appears in meta keywords and meta description. The meta description is the description that shows up on the first page of Google, well, whatever page of Google it's on. It shows up right underneath the headline, so you want to make sure the keyword is in there. Other meta tags include like subheadings. So you want to make sure the keyword is in there. If there are excessive ad placements, that's not a great indication that it's a quality backlink. So maybe back off on those. Note the page type. Is it a social network? Is it a blog, a landing page, a forum? Are there comments in the thread? And then the quality of the comments in the thread. Are they spammy comments? Are they people who are just posting a link to their website and then leaving? Or are they thoughtful comments? Does it look, and are they responding to their comments? Because they should ideally be responding to their comments. So take a look at that as well. Is there genuine relevance between the page and the page you're linking to? You don't want a backlink just for the sake of getting a backlink. It should make sense that it would be linking from one to another. Is it a competitor? You probably don't want to drive traffic to a competitor. They're probably not going to want to drive traffic to your website either. I usually like to partner with people who are in a related industry, or maybe they do what I do, but they do it for a different market. So keep those things in mind. Is the text human generated? You can really tell if the text is not human generated. I played around with a couple AI tools recently and they were not great. So take a look at the content and make sure that it's something you actually want to read. Does the blog have recent posts, or has it been abandoned and there have been no new posts, for months now? Is the grammar and spelling correct, at least at first pass? I mean, the occasional mistake is one thing. We all make mistakes, but if it's riddled with errors, then that's not a great indication that it's high quality. The web design, the images should also be high quality. And then there should be content about recent industry news and developments. There should be an indication that they are keeping up to date with their industry and they know what's new and what the developments are. And that is it. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, and I have a question. So some people say that they do not like backlinks because they do not want people to leave their website. So you click on the backlink to somebody else's website, then you're at that other website and you may, for whatever reason, not come back or forget why you're at the first website because you were distracted by what's on the second, on the linked website. So what are your thoughts on that you always want people to stay as long as possible on your site?
Yeah, well, a couple things. So first of all, Google does take into account that you're providing backlinks in addition to getting backlinks. That can also boost your SEO. I think it looks a little weird if you're only getting backlinks, and you're also less likely to get backlinks if you're not giving backlinks. If you are including backlinks on your website that lead to another website, always make sure there's a way. It's really easy, especially in WordPress. You can tell it to open up in a new tab. It automatically pops up in WordPress when you put in a link. It goes, do you want to, click this thing right here to make sure it opens in a new tab. So that makes sure that your website still stays open in that tab. So they can't completely forget about you. Obviously there is an opportunity for them to go and see that other website and forget that you're open on that tab. But I think it's worth the risk. I think if people are really enjoying what's on your website, they're going to stay there. I think I would be more likely to click the link and then be like, okay, I'll come back to that later, and finish reading whatever it is that I'm reading. What else was I going to say? Oh, it also provides authority to you because it demonstrates that you know where to get this information, right? So for me, I can like the data and research as an opportunity for backlinks, right? I can talk about stats of blogging and SEO and backlinks all the time, but it's one thing for me to just like say, here's this stat on blogging or SEO versus, no, seriously, here's the research. Here's where I'm getting this from. I'm not just pulling it out of thin air. So that gives you more credibility. So I am all for using backlinks. Use them strategically, obviously, make sure it makes sense to use them. Don't like fill your content with links, and maybe you want to use it at the end, like towards the end of your content after your call to action, rather than like early in the content. So yeah, I'm all for backlinks. It's the best way to build authority and get in front of people. Get on that first page of Google, organically rank your content.
So if you write a blog, let's say you write a lot of blogs, for your own blog, is your recommendation that every single blog have at least one backlink?
Yeah, I would say so. But it can be an internal backlink as well. It doesn't always have to be external. So for me, like I said, I will link back to like another blog on my website if it makes sense. If I recently read something and on another website and I want to let people know about that, then I will link to it if it makes sense. And then I always have a call to action at the end of my blog post, so that and that's usually to lead to another sales page on my website. So at the very least, I always have internal backlinks on my on all of my blog posts. I don't always have an external backlink, but if it makes sense, then yeah, I'll include an external backlink.
And one more question, is it ever a good idea to link to something to a social media post?
Yeah, I actually think social media sites have a very high domain authority, because there is so much content on there. I think you and I have both experienced like looking for something or someone, and the first thing that pops up is like their LinkedIn page or
Right.
their Facebook profile, right? So yeah, I can't imagine that would do you any harm.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, well, I will stop sharing. And stop recording.